Welcome back to I Own a Business. In today's episode, I am taking everyone to Puerto Rico. And that's visually, not for real. We don't quite have the budget for that. My guest today and I and several other forward-thinking ODs recently attended an event in Puerto Rico. And among other things, we had a roundtable discussion on contact lenses. And we talked about everything from new technology to promoting contact lenses with new wearers to retaining current wearers. And we got a ton of great insights from the group. And we wanted to bring some of that insight back to a podcast episode and talk through some of these issues. And I have with me today Dr. Tara Vaz. Welcome so much, Tara. Great to see you again.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for having me today and on the podcast. Really excited to share with everybody what we learned from the group.
Tara, if you don't mind, maybe share a little background on yourself and your
Yeah,
role with Cooper Vision.
yeah, wonderful. So I am, as Steve said, Tara Vaz, an optometrist with the professional and academic affairs team at Cooper Vision. I have been in the industry for over 20 years. I have practiced in both a retail setting as well as private practice. I do have other experience within academia and a medical center before joining Cooper Vision, which was about 3 years ago.
So last time I saw you was in Puerto Rico, I believe. So
Correct,
let's
yeah.
let's go back there for a minute. We took away so many great insights from
Mhm.
that group. We heard about a lot of their challenges and their opportunities. And even though most of these doctors were very successful in their own rights, they face the same challenges that any doctor faces in trying to grow a contact lens patient base. But as is often the case with people who are successful, they're pretty adept at finding the opportunities. And
Yeah.
that's what I took away from this roundtable was the opportunities that exist. Where do you see that? From what we learned, you've worked with other doctors. Where do you see some of the greatest opportunities in the contact lens space?
Yeah. So, first, I just wanted to start off by saying that I was really impressed by the engagement and commitment of those doctors that attended a roundtable in Puerto Rico. They're, like I said, really committed to making sure that they are doing all that they can to deliver the best visual results as well as lifestyle outcomes for their patients. And um, what I did also take away was that they do make contact lenses a priority within their practices. And it's not just about a clinical decision, but it's also about lifestyle enhancements. And I think also that everybody at that table did agree that while they do make contact lenses a priority, that there's still areas to grow, right? And that they are recognizing that maybe there's more that they can be doing. And they wanted to explore other opportunities and learn from everybody that was there. Um, so, really, they wanted to take tidbits and things that they could take and implement when they got home, right? And why is this so important, right? I think also at this time that they place a priority on patient satisfaction, right? And also they know that patient loyalty is really important and will help differentiate their practices and their service offerings. And by offering advanced technology, because we know advancements in contact lenses have grown exponentially within just the last decade or even less than that, right? And they really want to be able to enhance their patients' lives by providing this technology. And it's not only about providing full-time wear, but also part-time wear. And how can we also encourage that dual wear to adopt and retain contact lenses was identified during that conversation.
Yeah, I want to circle back to the dual wear
Mhm.
part because there's some
Yeah,
interesting research on that as well. I think the word you used, which was spot on, was priority.
yeah.
And I think a lot of doctors approach contact lenses sort of secondary. I'm going to wait for for the patient to bring it up instead of making it a priority and we're driving the discussion. And what is the priority? If we get really hung up on the product, I mean, contact lenses, yeah, they're not all the same. There's technology, there's advancements, but all of them are really a tool to get at what the priority should be, which you mentioned patient satisfaction and loyalty, right? When that becomes a priority, then we start looking at what tools do we have in our toolbox to deliver on that. Um, Something I heard as well was I used the word, I was going to use the word proactive. They're very proactive with
Mhm.
contact lenses, asking, what can we do to promote contacts and what can we, or how can we remove the barriers? And I think one of the best ways to promote contacts is sitting right there in everybody's office, but we kind of neglect it, that contact lens fitting set. So I'll give you some data that you're probably already aware of and I want to see. I want to talk this through a little bit, but 66. Now, this is from the Contact Lens Institute. 66% of people say they'd be more likely to try contact lenses if they were given a trial pair. 66%. Only 10% are offered a trial pair
Yeah.
by their doctor. That is a huge disparity and a huge lost opportunity. How do we fix that?
Yeah, right. That's kind of a gut check for all of us, right? Yeah, it tells us that we're missing a huge opportunity. But the good news is that really I think that's fixable for all of us, right? So here's I like to think of it, or I don't like to think of it, but this way. But we're also probably thinking if our patients are interested in contact lenses, they're going to bring it up, right? And our patient is thinking that, oh, my doctor isn't explaining to me or giving me that option of a contact lens. So he or she must think that I'm not a candidate. And I do also see that is a really big lost opportunity for us, right? This is not only applicable to new wearers, right? But I also think it's applicable to patients who have lapsed in their contact lens wearing, right? Or also for those patients who could benefit from an upgrade in technology. Maybe they're in a hydrogel lens and we want to move them into that silicone hydrogel lens. Or maybe they are in that usable lens or reusable lens and we want to put them into that daily disposable lens. Just offering every patient that opportunity to take a contact lens, put it on in the office, or even take it home. I think that that's going to be a benefit to get more patients into contact lenses.
Yeah, it's a great
And
point. I'm sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I was just going to say, and also I think an effective technique or strategy to also get more patients into contact lenses and also offering the patient that opportunity is by bringing the whole team, the whole office team into that conversation. Because if a patient hears it throughout their patient journey, they're going to be more interested in saying, hey, this may actually be a viable option for me.
Yeah, I think that consistency is real key. In fact, I just got off the phone with a doctor that was struggling on the optical side with sales, and the more we talked it through, it became clear that no conversation was taking place all the way up to the point of the optical. By the time they were getting to the optical, they were ready to check out, and that was exactly the approach that I shared, that we started talking about, was let's initiate the conversation earlier and get the whole team involved. And I think that's extremely important for the contact lenses as well.
Yeah, yeah. So staff influence, I think, is sometimes underappreciated, right? Um, our staff, um, whether it's technicians, whether it is whoever is checking the patient in at the front door or front desk, or even whoever's taking the appointment, they have that influence on our patients as throughout their journey. If they are positive about a contact lens, I believe that goes a long way as well. You know, I, how many times have maybe we've heard somebody say, "Oh gosh, I don't know how you can touch your eye," right? Like that when you're putting in a contact lens. So if a patient's overhearing those types of things, they may be like, "Oh, should I be concerned about this? Oh, they don't wear a contact lens. Maybe I shouldn't as well." So bringing the staff into the conversation and also educating them of how important their contribution to the conversation is for improving the patient's lifestyle by introducing contact lenses, I think will also be key to getting buy-in from the your staff.
It's always interesting being a part of these groups
Mhm.
because even though these doctors, they were sort of hand selected. I mean, they're very successful as practice owners, but to hear them talk, you realize they struggle with the same things everybody else does. And you heard the staff training part come through loud and clear. It's a universal struggle. And it's a lot of it's the same issues. We've got high turnover. It's a busy
Yeah.
practice. We don't have time. But at the same time, you also got that sense that it's still a priority, as you said, still need to be proactive. And this is, I think, one of the most important things you could do is training. So, what could you stop doing? I always look at things through that filter. If we're saying we don't have time for something like staff training, which is extremely important, what could we stop doing? What areas could we change to give us back time to do that? Um, there's something I don't know if we could call it I want to circle back to you mentioned dual wear.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a myth here with patients apparently, because I was looking at some of the research on that as well. We could call it the part-time myth, or maybe it would be better described as the full-time myth. But a lot of new wearers, and I don't think doctors realize this, I didn't, new wearers assume that if they're going to go to contacts, it's sort of this all or nothing transition. And that causes a lot of them to hit pause because they think, well, I kind of like glasses. I don't know if I want to be a contact lens wearer, right? When the reality is it's about a 50-50 split. Most people who get contacts, they still wear their glasses. It's going to vary by person, but it's still a pretty good split. How can we have that conversation early on so that doesn't become one of those I like to call silent objections, the kind of things that
Yeah.
cause people to not take action on something, but they don't really tell you what it is. And we never find out. So they walk out the door without taking any action. But how do we have that conversation on the front end? Or do we just present them as potentially dual lenses or dual wear?
Yeah, so isn't that, I thought that was such an interesting misconception, right? Because as an optometrist, I mean, it's obvious to me, of course, right? You don't have to wear your contact lenses all the time, or it's glasses only all the
It's like we're going to
time.
take the glasses back if they
Right,
or,
exactly.
or
And
you get to
yeah,
keep
and
your
I
glasses.
guess
In fact, we
it's
want you
one.
to buy glasses too.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that's like, oh, it's like they want our permission for the flexibility, maybe. Or I guess also we have to realize too that they don't know what they don't know, right? So I think that making targeted and recommendations for our patients will help with them understanding that it's a not an all or nothing. So whether it's during a workup or whether it's when the patient is in your chair, say it is revealed that they are a runner, right? Or that they are have recently taken up pickleball or something like that. We could say, oh, well, are these the times when maybe your glasses are getting in the way? Would you be interested in trying contact lenses? These could help with your performance. And also making sure that they understand that, contact lenses can be used when it is best for them for whatever activity they are doing. I like to think of it sometimes as, you know, we have different types of shoes, right? So if we have dress shoes for special occasions and we have comfortable shoes for other occasions, we choose what shoes to wear that are most appropriate for that occasion. We can give that freedom to our patients to wear their contact lenses when it best suits their activities, and to also rest assured you can wear your contact lenses on those days when you're not as active. Maybe those cozy nights in, right? Yeah.
So you mentioned running and pickleball.
Yes.
Well, so let's pick up from there because we, the conversation at this table, we couldn't have a conversation about contact lenses without at some point getting to cost and how do you deal with cost issues and patients that are cost conscious. So we recently just did a podcast called The Patient of the Future. I had been doing some research on what the younger demographic values, and I shared some of those things on the podcast. And there's a bit of an two areas that doctors need to be mindful of. One, they might not like as so much, but the younger demographic does tend to be more cost conscious. However, that doesn't mean they're averse to value. They also value or place a lot of emphasis on value as well. So when we look beyond price tags, and we even look further into the data, more contact lens from the Contact Lens Institute, they did actually find that cost was one of the top barriers. But again, it also confirmed that the data showed that patients respond better when the conversation it shifts from price to value and lifestyle. So how do we shift that conversation in the exam room where we can get the patient's mind off of price and instead focus on value and lifestyle? That's why it caught my attention when you said running and pickleball. If we're
Mhm.
only looking at added price, we might miss out on finding out what the patient actually does to provide them,
Yeah.
again, the kind of tools and solution and resources that are going to help them solve a problem.
Yeah, so yeah, I totally get it. That cost concern, that's a real concern for a lot of our patients. But I think, as you said, if we are able to shift the focus of the conversation when we are talking about the value, what contact lenses can bring to their lives and enhance their lives, whether it's improved vision, better quality of life, how they feel more confident in what they are doing, and we are able to demonstrate to them what value it brings, I think then cost isn't as much at the forefront. And if they can truly believe in the value that it brings to their lives, then it's not as much of an issue. Actually, Steve, can I share with you my story of when I started wearing contact lenses? So I actually did not get fit with contact lenses until I was in second year of optometry school. And I was learning how to use the BIO and slit lamp. And of course, I would, well, at least I tried to blame my issues with learning these things with my on my glasses. But my glasses were fogging as I was trying to learn how to use the slit lamp. And I just mentioned this to an upperclassman. He was in his third year. And he said to me, "Hey, Tara, have you thought about trying contact lenses? That may help you." And I was like, "Oh, really? Okay, sure." So I actually did go in and see him for an exam. He fit me with contact lenses. 3 hours later, I'm kidding, you know how it is when you're a third year in school. But I did leave that exam with some trial lenses. And when I went back into the skills lab and was utilizing the slit lamp, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so much easier for me. And I found not only did it translate when I was in school, but it continued as I went into the profession and started seeing patients. So when we give our patients that opportunity to try the lenses, to experience what benefit it can bring to their activities of daily living, I really do believe that cost isn't as much in that forefront. The value of what it brings to their lifestyle then becomes most prominent.
Yeah, I agree completely. Thanks for sharing
Yeah.
that story because it's a
Yeah.
great example of that. I think sometimes we create our own barrier with contact lenses. Was it the ease study? Are you familiar with that? I don't
Mhm.
remember the details, but I'd encourage it's an older study,
Yeah.
and I think it's EASE. I hope that's right. But basically, gave people trial lenses just to go as an experiment, just to go look in the optical while they were waiting for the dilating drops, or they took their glasses out. I forget that
Yeah.
obviously the specifics, but something like a third of those patients, they weren't even trying to sell them contact lenses, got back in the room and said, I love these. Can I try them?
Yeah.
So again, if and I took that loud and clear from the event that we were at, is these doctors are making it extremely easy and using the right word, using
Yeah.
the right verbiage. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I think one of the doctors even said, we tell everyone you can get a free pair of contacts today, even people that
Yeah.
aren't there for contact lenses. And most of them take them up on it. And I forget, they tracked the percentage of those who go on to buy contact lenses, and it was actually pretty high. So making it easy to trial is, I think, is really important. Something else that jumped out at me is as a lost opportunity. I'm going to patent this term, I think, Tara. I'm so
Okay.
proud of this term.
Okay.
The dropout danger zone. Okay.
Oh,
We
that's a
talked
cool
about
one.
this, yeah, at the event, and the data supports this is that half of dropouts occur in the first 2 months. So what happens in
Mhm.
the typical contact lens experience? They come in, we either fit them or they're getting refit. And maybe if they're a new wear, we have them come back in a week. We check them, we sign off on them, and we let them go. Should we be following up after that? If half of those dropouts occur in the first 2 months, I think
Mhm.
again, huge lost opportunity. Is there a way to track them and get them back? And maybe it's just a matter of fitting them into a different lens.
So, that also was a surprising stat that I had learned from the CLI. Or actually, I do believe it was work by Sully and others. That was referenced in the CLI report. But what this tells me is that practices, we're losing track of what's happening to our patients after we dispense that pair of lenses, right? Or even give them their prescription and then send them on their way. We did hear from the group that joined us at Puerto Rico that they do have a lot of the patients back for that 1 week or 2 week follow-up. They see how they're doing, but a lot of them do not, and when I talk to other colleagues as well, they do not actually follow up with the patient to see how they're doing beyond that 1 or 2 weeks. And the next time that they are encountering them or seeing them is at their 1 year follow-up. And then that's when they first learn that maybe they're not wearing those contact lenses anymore, right? So what is happening in those first 2 months is really key to what their future contact lens journey is going to be. So, what is happening during those that first 2 months? It could be a few things, right? We need to find out also how are they doing with comfort, with their vision. Uh, what's also really key for new wearers is handling, right? If they are having a hard time putting in and taking their lenses, sorry, putting in or taking their lenses out, and they find that is maybe in the morning, their morning routine, especially around times like this and kids are getting back to school, and there's a lot going on in the house and they're fumbling with their lenses and they're like, you know what, not today. And then it becomes also the next day, not today, I'm not gonna do this. And then eventually they just stop wearing them. So I think that putting a process in place to follow up with our patients, whether it is a quick phone call, if you have the capabilities to send a text message or an email as a check-in to find out how they're doing beyond that first dispense visit or after a week, that would be key. And then also we'd want to ask targeted questions. Like I said, how's the comfort of the lens? How are you doing with handling? And then depending on the response, we can follow up. It could just be a quick, oh, here is a link to Cooper Vision's insertion removal training video. Or it could be, you know what, I'm going to have our contact lens technician give you a call back. Or it may be something that I'm going to have you come back to see your doctor so you can figure this out and we can help you be successful.
I love the idea of a phone call. I mean, we could certainly have some kind of system in place where you text or email, but it would be one of those things that would be a bit unconventional to pick up a phone a month after they've left and call
Mhm.
them and ask them how they're doing in their contacts. Our hope is obviously that they're doing great, but if they're not, it's a chance to get them back in the office and perhaps save someone who would have otherwise dropped out. And the fact that most people aren't doing it is the exact reason to do it. It's one of those things that I think would really set an office apart. But I think overall, finding out that so I think sometimes we fit people and just don't think about them anymore, right? Okay, I wrote the
Yeah,
prescription, they're gone, and maybe they buy 3 months worth of contacts and that's it. And then, they never, they just give up. Or even just reassurance that you can, like we talked about before, you don't have to wear these all the time. Maybe
no.
you're better positioned to be a part-time wearer, and that's fine too. Um, I when I look at the value of contact lenses for a practice, I think there is a tremendous amount, I'm repeating myself here at this point, of lost opportunity there. And
Mhm.
I'll share something with you. I just recently had a call with another doctor who was revenues were had been declining over the past year, and this doctor wanted to have a conversation around dry eye and orthokeratology and a few other things that they were interested in. And I said, those are all great conversations, but I think you're missing out on the low-hanging fruit here. Contact lenses. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still the bread and butter. Glasses, contact lenses, all those other things are exciting, but that's where they were really missing out. And from a financial standpoint, a revenue standpoint, when you look at the things like the average revenue per patient of a contact lens patient versus a glasses only patient, and the other one that we fail to look at enough is the lifetime value. They come back much more often, in large part because they have to. We'd love people to come back once a year. So few patients actually do that, though. With glasses, they can stretch it out longer. But when do people come back for contacts? As much as we try to get them back in a year, they're coming back when they're on their last pair, but they need you more as their doctors. So I guarantee if you're listening to this, you've got a pretty healthy percentage of patients coming to see you every day that are not asking for contact lenses, but probably would benefit. But you may be the one who has to initiate the conversation.
Yeah, I believe a number of years ago that number was actually worked out, and it was the dual wearer, the contact lens and spectacle wearer patient. They bring in an average of about 2.5 times more the revenue of a spectacle wearing only patient over the lifetime that they are in your practice. It equates to about $10,000 per patient. So times that by 10, right? Times that by even 100. Practices could be losing out on some pretty hefty revenue.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It,
But it's not only also about, I think, the per patient. It's also the trust that you and loyalty that you are building with your existing patient base by providing them with these opportunities and this technology with the contact lenses. There's a lot of patients who, in the past, maybe they were told that they couldn't wear a contact lens, are patients that have astigmatism. There's also a lot of patients who don't even know that there is a contact lens to help them when they hit presbyopia, right? And by offering these technologies for patients, they trust you. They think that you are looking out for their best interests and they are going to recommend you to their friends and family. If I could also share another story about a friend of mine, she had recently been to her dentist and she's having some teeth sensitivity, right? And she was just telling me this, and I said, "Oh yeah, I know I had a similar experience, and I my dentist, recommended this toothpaste, recommended, this, and this, or X, Y, and Z." And she's just like, "Oh, well, my dentist didn't recommend any of what you said. Who's your dentist?" Right? So she wanted to come see my dentist or go to see my dentist. So yeah, it's just a great way to also build that practice.
that is a great story, and I would imagine that happens all the time with
Mhm.
optometrists as well. Oh, my
Yeah,
optometrist never mentioned even something as simple as contact lenses.
yeah,
Maybe I should go to yours. So there's something that I heard throughout this presentation. I think it came through here, or I'm sorry, this discussion that I think
yeah.
we heard come through in the event in Puerto Rico was opportunity. So I hope anyone
Oh,
listening to this senses the and sees the opportunity that there is in contact lenses. Just if it's something that you want to grow within your patient base, and I don't know why you wouldn't, for the health of the practice and the health of the patient, just look at ways of being more intentional, more proactive with that.
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a whole practice effort as well.
Hmm.
Also bringing in your staff into the conversation, making sure that they are positive about the conversation, and really explaining the critical role that they have in the success and celebrating the successes as well. I think will go a long way in building that contact lens patient base within your practices.
Yep, that's a great pace
Mhm.
to end. It'll work. It was working well for the doctors in that group, and I think it could work well for the doctors listening too. So, Tara,
Absolutely.
thanks so much for your time. Invite me back to Puerto Rico with Cooper Vision at any time you want.
I'd love to have you next time I go, but unfortunately, we can't always go to Puerto Rico.
Pick whatever
Listen,
destination you want. I'll be there.
I'm based in Rochester, New York. So if you anytime you want to come to Rochester, New York, Steve, happy to have you here.
Well, thanks so much, Tara. I appreciate your time. I had a blast in Puerto Rico with you and the Cooper folks and the doctors that we were with. So I greatly appreciate the invite to that, and it was great seeing you again. Thanks for sharing.
No, thank you for having me and really appreciate the opportunity as well to share with all your listeners.
Well, thank you. Thanks to Tara, and thanks everyone for listening. We will see you in the next episode.